And I call Deputy Robert Troy.
Thank you, Last Concorde. Tánaiste, you will be aware that there has been a massive investment into the country's post office network over the past number of years. And I'm sure you will acknowledge that this primarily happened under the lifetime of the previous government. Yes, some post offices took the decision when this upgrading was being carried out to take voluntary redundancy, and this resulted in closures. Voluntary redundancies, I would point out. However, there are 1,150 post offices across the country, and they employ 3,700 people. And what's happening now is up to this government and their policies. Post offices play a vital part in our communities, and they're a serious focal point for the elderly and families living in rural Ireland. Last Concorde, could I have the floor, please? I'm raising a serious issue here this morning.
You have the floor. Order, please.
Banks have already been closed in the last number of years in smaller towns. Garda stations have been closed and sold, and the post offices have to be protected and enhanced. Tánaiste, your department's payments account for 30% of post offices' business, and the spin-off value of people calling in and buying other items is as high as 50%. The contract to pay social protection payments is worth €25 million per annum to post offices. Whether it's accepted by you or not, Tánaiste, you will have an opportunity to reply, and I hope you will reply to the answers that I will put to you. Whether it's accepted by you or not, Tánaiste, whether it's accepted by you or not, Tánaiste, there is a very genuine concern out there by the postmasters that their businesses is going to end up closing, mainly due to the fact that your department is issuing forms instructing people to change their method of collection from post offices to the banks. And their concerns have been independently verified by a report commissioned by Grant Thornton in 2014. Now, Minister, as I said already, you have taken many policy decisions which has irked particular groups across the country. But your decision to send out forms to people asking them to select bank accounts to receive social protection payments is effectively threatening to close up to 400 post offices across this country. Minister, Tánaiste, postmasters are simply asking and looking for a level playing field, and they're not getting it. What you're doing is undermining the very future viability of these post offices.
Question, please, Deputy.
Can I ask you, Tánaiste, will you confirm that it is your government's intention to maintain the current network at 1,150 post offices? Will you and your government invest the much needed funding so that the post office can develop a post office based electronic transaction account which will afford people the option of receiving and transacting social welfare payments in the post office, whether it be electronically or by cash?
Thank you.
Will you confirm that you will meet the Postmasters Union as they have requested? And will you commit and honour your commitment? 2 months ago, Tánaiste, you said that you would change the social welfare forms. Today, the same social welfare forms are on your website.
Thank you.
Will you instruct your officials to take down those forms, and will you ensure that new forms are sent out that doesn't recommend people to get their social welfare payment via electronically?
Thank you, Deputy. Tánaiste.
Well, thank you, Deputy. I am aware that there are in fact a lot of deputies in this House and their families who have an interest in post offices, and I hope that anybody who has a direct commercial interest in a post office, if they have it, might actually let us know that, because sorry, I'm just exploring. Are you a postmaster as well as a TD?
Excuse me. This is leaders. Sorry.
Is your family a
Please.
Sorry, I'm just asking in the interest. Sorry, it's normal in a debate
Sorry.
to
This is leaders'
address an
question, please.
interest.
For leaders' question.
It's just normal. I'm just asking. I'm aware that the deputy has a long-standing interest in post offices. I'm just asking if there is a family interest, if there's a commercial interest. Just
Sorry, we can't hear the reply.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Can't hear the reply, please.
Right. First of all, Fianna Fáil, during the period in government, closed 197 post offices. And Deputy Troy, in fairness to him, says that many of those were decisions by postmasters because, for instance, somebody in the family was retiring and no one else wanted to take the job on. Now, of the closures which have happened during this government, which are about 24 or 25, almost all of them have been for that exact reason. And I myself, in my own constituency, along with a lot of other deputies in this House, have been involved in efforts to recruit a new postmaster or postmistress when someone else has retired. And I think that's a familiar story all around this House. If we were to be honest about what is actually happening in terms of the post office system. The second fact I just want to bring to your attention, because maybe it just escaped your attention, the actual contract for services with the Department of Social Protection Deputy is worth 50 million and counting per annum. You suggested that it was worth half of that, and that's actually an unfair. It's 50 million, Deputy. It's 50 million, Deputy, plus. And in terms of the other services that the Department of Social Protection supply via the post office, it becomes even higher. So to suggest that it's half that figure is pretty poor counting by somebody who's involved in the post office system. That's why I asked the question, had he a personal awareness and familiarity with the post office system? Because I would therefore expect him not just to have a researcher's brief, but perhaps to have some personal knowledge of his own. And can I just say this as well, that at the moment the post offices do stand at a position where they occupy a hugely important role in urban and rural communities right around the country. They're important services, particularly for people who don't actually have a formal bank account. And it's not just past Fianna Fáil Taoiseach who don't have a formal bank account. It's actually quite a lot of other people in this country. Up to 200,000 people in this country don't have a formal bank account. And let me say, as Minister for Social Protection, that in that context the Department of Social Protection relies on the post office system to actually make payments to the people who don't have bank accounts, and we will continue to rely on it. We also require the post office to be available to people to collect their social welfare job seekers payment through the post office and to turn up in person to collect it. And it is for that reason that the post office has a very large and very valuable contract with the Department of Social Protection worth more than 50 million, and Fianna Fáil seem unable to count because they're suggesting it's worth less than half of that.
Thank you,
so let's get our facts right. So they're the first few facts, Deputy.
Thank you, Deputy Robert Troy. Supplementary question, 1 minute also.
Thank you very much, Last Concordia. Well, Tánaiste, it'll behove you to come in and try and make cheap shots at me. It's a matter of fact. It's a matter of fact that I have a post office in my own constituency. I declared it on members' interest, and I've declared it umpteen times on the floor of this House. And what you're trying to do is make it personal. And what people out there, what the post office is looking in here today, what the post offices are looking in here today is they want to get answers, and I want to get answers on behalf of the 3,700 people who are employed in the post offices network across the country. And I've asked a number of questions here this morning, Tánaiste, and you haven't answered one. You haven't answered one in your usual typical style to come in and try and talk the clock down, and it doesn't do you any justice that you don't answer the questions, because we're here asking questions on behalf of people that we represent. And I'll ask the questions again, Tánaiste. Will you commit, and will this government commit, that they will maintain the current network of 1,150 post offices? That's a simple yes or no. Tánaiste, will you commit to meet the Postmasters Union to work through their 6-point plan to save the post offices network? Yes or no?
Could you please lower the noise level, please, Deputy Troy?
Will this government commit to investing in the development of the post office-based electronic transaction account? Yes or no? And finally, Tánaiste, will you honour your commitment of 2 months ago when you said that the forms would be taken down and be replaced? That hasn't happened. As of this morning, the old forms are still on your department's website.
Thank you,
and I'm aware, because I'm a postmaster and because I too sent forms back to you this week in your department, that every post office across the length and breadth of this country still have the old forms in place, which requests and directs and recommends that people should change from getting their payment paid through the post office to the bank.
Thank you.
So, Tánaiste, will you live up to your commitment and ensure that those promises are maintained?
Thank you. Tánaiste to reply.
Well, I'm happy to say that my department provides over 50 million worth of business to the post office system in Ireland. It's its largest single customer. Well, normally when entities have a really significant, important customer, I expect the people who are being paid for the service to give a good service to the people who use the post offices. That's what the people who use the post offices want. And the biggest problem is the fact that so few people who use post offices have a full bank account. And the purpose of the recent report by Bobby Kerr and the recent examination under the auspices of the Minister for Rural Affairs was, in fact, to find a pathway which would provide an efficient and a profitable service both for the customers and for the people who run and who work in the post offices. You must be getting all the shouts out today because you're worried you'll miss them for the next few weeks. So give it a rest. Give it a rest. In relation to the standard bank account, we have put forward detailed proposals to the Minister for Finance. So has the Kerr report. I broadly support the recommendations made in the Kerr report. I think they make a lot of sense. You spoke a few moments ago as a postmaster. Maybe you tell us what the postmasters are going to bring to the table, seeing as you're standing here speaking on behalf of them. So which is that all of the forms which relate to social welfare payments are designed and redesigned with a couple of objectives in mind, which is why they take quite a time to design and redesign. One is to prevent fraud, and the other is to ensure accuracy and simplicity insofar as a long form for a pension application can be made as simple as possible. That is actually being done at the moment. Well, as a postmaster, you seem to be taking an attitude where you don't want people who have bank accounts to actually be able to use their bank account. You want them, because you're a business owner in a post office, to only be allowed to queue up at the post office. That's not right, Deputy. You actually have to provide a bank account system that the post offices can use. And as a postmaster, you'll have to cooperate with that.
Deputy.
As a postmaster, you're going to have to cooperate.